you're watching my cooking video for some reason. Now, I'm here to propose to you a lovely new recipe that I dutifully stole off of the internet. It's Teriyaki's chicken, which is possibly the easiest delicious thing you'll ever make. So be proud of yourself. Your ingredients, you're going to need some homemade teriyaki. It doesn't need to be homemade, but you get to boast if it's homemade. You need some corn starch flour and chicken thighs too, which go together, believe it or not. 300 grams of sushi rice and 390 milliliters of water. We're going to use them together later. We'll get to it when we do. And we have our final ingredient, our capsicums. Now keep in mind, all vegetables that you intend to keep the skin of will have to be washed first. Right, so first up, you're going to want to grab your sushi rice, plonk it under the sink, and throw it under some cold water. What you're going to want is you're going to basically massage the rice and basically create the water into this awful, delicious, white, creamy mess that you shouldn't drink. Because it's starchy water, don't drink that. Now you're going to want to do this at least 5 times or so, at the very least. Do it more if you, I don't know, have larger aspirations. So I've cleaned it about 5 times. It's relatively clear, and you just have to pour it out to the best of your measly ability. Alright, so what you're going to want to do now is just soak it for about 20 minutes under your tap water. Set a timer for 20 minutes if you want. I have a watch. You have these capsicums right here. Delicious. Or not, depends on your opinion, I suppose. Grab yourself a lovely knife and slice them nice and easy. Now, I've been told cutting your fingers off isn't a nice experience, so be sure to keep them well away from the knife. Alright, so what you're going to want is an extra bowl for all of the sad, pathetic excuses of a vegetable that you don't want to put in your food. There we are. You're going to want to chop them up into bite-sized pieces. And the seeds aren't chili seeds, so you don't have to really worry about getting rid of them too fiercely, although they're generally a different texture than the rest of the meal. Just throw them somewhere else, and side note, while I make a complete mess of this, do not actually cut the chicken first if you're using the same match for both your chicken and your vegetables, because contamination is not what you want, or so I've heard. Now, what you're going to want next is chicken. Grab your cornstarch with you, you're going to need that. Don't worry, this is how professionals do it. So what you're going to want to do is just cut roughly in half into about this size pieces. My hand for comparison, that's a pretty bad comparison. Slightly larger than bite-sized pieces because the pieces will shrink in the pan right over yonder. Make sure to wash your hands after coming into contact with chicken. Probably gotten sick of hearing it at this point, what with the pandemic, but the problem here is salmonella. So grab your cornstarch and a brush and just lightly coat it to the best of your ability. Once you're done with one side, you're going to want to flip it over and do the other. We're going to be grilling this chicken, and that's why we're adding cornstarch. Making it crispy is the job of this cornstarch. Alright, so we've done the chicken over there, and what you're going to do now is grab a pan and set the heat on as high as you want, or generally need, because what you need is for the pan to be so hot that it might start smoking. So hot that if you touch it, the skin peels. So an easy way to test that is by touching it, and if your skin doesn't peel, you're disappointing. I'm disappointed. You had one job, and it was literally to wait. You probably can't pick up on it, but the pan is genuinely smoking. I wasn't joking. Grab yourself some oil, unscrew the cap, and just add a fair amount. I'm not going to give very precise instructions because I do not know them. Now, you're probably not going to want to touch the pan because the time for testing whether or not it's hot is gone. You're going to want a bandage around your finger because otherwise it'll impede you, but at this point, grab a cloth or something fancy to maneuver the pan. And once the oil is coating the bottom quite nicely, add in your chicken with tongs. These tongs are much better than putting your fingers in a pan. You're also going to make sure that they do not stick too close together and to keep a respectful 2-meter distance between them. What we're looking for is for the chicken to lightly brown, not fully cook through, but somewhat, and then flip it over to let that happen to the other side. You're basically going to want to cook it over medium heat just for a while. Periodically check with the tongs if you're anxious like I am. Alright, so you're going to be looking for approximately this color or so, with some light brown touches and the rest being sort of whitish. Alright, so goodness, that's loud! What you're going to want to have now that you've got all of your chicken nice and fried is about 3 spoons or so of your teriyaki sauce. If it looks like a raging inferno, that's good. That's what you want. The more smoke comes out, the more flavor does too. This is one of my crackpot theories I came up with when I was drinking too much water. Now, be careful while doing this. Just throw it around a bit. Now you've got that lovely brown color on there. God, I'm really starting to sound like a pretentious cook, but you're still going to want to have it be fully brown. As you can see, there are a few white spots. You don't want too many of those. Those look about done. Fragrant too, which is generally a good sign. All we want now is to manhandle them out of the pot and into a serving tray. We're not done yet though. Keep in mind, we still have ourselves our capsicum here, and a last minute addition, we're going to be chopping up some spring onions nice and quickly just to add for decoration. In the background, we've been having our sushi rice been soaking all this time, which has now been 30 minutes. So that's plenty above 20 last time I checked. Just top up on the oil a bit and spread it around. All you have to do left is carefully throw in all of your capsicum. So we've got our vegetables nicely cooked here. They've got their brown edges. Now we're going to make them browner. Grab yourself your teriyaki sauce and throw it in there just about the same amount to make it divine. Keep in mind, teriyaki sauce is actually alcoholic. So you don't want to drink it by itself, despite how delicious it is. But throwing it here in a saucepan cooks away all of the alcohol, and you can, in fact, serve it to your dog. Although that's a waste. Why would you do that? So, those have soaked up all of their sauce, and now all that remains to be done is to grab a serving bowl and empty out the vegetables onto them. Last we have to do is chop up your spring onions, which have to be cleaned, remember, and after that we've got the sushi rice. Just chop off this part and then finely slice it enough to decorate it nice and well. There we are. Leave it at about the white area. The rest we can use for later in some other recipe. Throw that in a bowl for later use. Alright, so what you're going to want now is your sushi rice, drained and thrown in a pot, and your 390 milliliters of water. So, step-by-step process. First, put that over medium or so heat and wait until the water boils. Now, while that rice is cooking, let me quickly explain to you how I made the teriyaki sauce, which is very simple. You can buy it in an Asian supermarket if there's one close to you. However, with a 2-kilometer distance, you may not be able to if you live in the suburbs. However, if you do have some Asian ingredients, then you're fine. What you're going to need, 200 milliliters of mirin cooking wine, 200 milliliters of cooking sake, 250 milliliters of naturally brewed soy sauce. It's not just a pretentious thing, you do actually need it to be naturally brewed, and 60 to about 90 grams of sugar. Throw them all in a pot, turn on the heat. You don't want it to really boil per se, but you don't want there to be any excess sugar at the bottom. And once that's done, throw it in a bottle and have fun. Put it in chicken maybe. So now we have our rice coming to a light froth. And at this point what you're going to want to do is just slap on the cover, turn it down all the way, grab a timer for 12 minutes, Once that timer is up, it's fairly easy. Leave the lid on, turn off the heat, and set another timer for 15 minutes. Once those 15 minutes are up, it's ready to serve, and it'll be delicious sushi rice that everybody loves, and if you don't, you're weird. Alright, 2 hours later, and we've got the finished product. It's delicious, it's served. We've got miso soup if you want that, but I didn't include it in the recipe because some people don't like it. Now, I did get the recipe from Adam Liao, a YouTube creator, and he does many delicious Asian recipes if you want to follow them instead, because I would recommend you do. He, however, does go quite complex. This was the easiest recipe, so if your definition of cooking is throwing instant ramen in a pot and boiling it, then it might not be for you. Then again, everybody starts somewhere. So, thank you for watching, and good night.